Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. Welcome to the
morning.
Lincoln County Commission meeting of February 6, 2024. I guess the first item of the agenda, I will ask for public input on the board for the agenda today. If not, can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Aaron, second by Landine. Any discussion? Jeff, or go ahead, Kristen.
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Commissioner Landine,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon.
Yes. Next is, again, board action to approve the consent agenda items. Is there any public input on this at this time? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chair. Second.
Motion by Schmidt, second by Aaron's. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Commissioner Landine,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon.
Yes. That moves us on to our regular business. Item number one, I know, Mr. Meter, that is yours. Again, regarding a public hearing to occur to consider the adoption of a resolution of intent to enter into a lease for a term exceeding 120 days and an amount exceeding $500. The subject area is known as Lease Site M2, A-Track 350 square feet, located at the Lincoln County Marvin Ski Airport. The proposed leasee is Joseph W. Darst, Jr.
Good morning, Commissioners. As the agenda item says, this is a transfer of a lease site at the airport. It's formerly titled M2. Mr. Darst is transferring his ownership or lease, rights to Mr. Soberg. So the requested action is for the board to sign the termination agreement and allow us to also execute the new lease agreement with Mr. Soberg.
Is there any questions for Mr. Meter?
He's just assuming the current lease, there's no changes or additions or extensions.
Nope, and he'll take the same execution rights for the next remaining terms, I should say.
Any other questions? Public input on this matter? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Move to
Second.
approve.
Motion by Landine, second by Schmidt. Is there any further discussion? If not, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Commissioner Landine,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon.
Yes. Thank you. Next item, in regard to tabled item, Board of Action to approve a resolution of necessity to acquire real property necessary for opening and construction of a highway. Again, this was an item that was tabled, I believe, last week, so I know, Mr. DeGroot, this is yours.
Morning, Commissioners. Drew DeGroat from the State's Attorney's Office. This was a tabled item from the last commission meeting. Again, this is a clarifier of the first resolution of necessity. To take this off the table, there would need to be a motion and a second and a vote to take this off the table. It was tabled and referred to this date. Would like to clarify a couple things that the chair has made clear to legal, that this is not green lighting further condemnation action. The chair has requested that legal, if they would proceed with condemnation action, that there would need to be prior authorization from the board again, so this would have to come in front of the board if that would be necessary. We have reached out to the McKinney's attorney. We have meetings scheduled. We're hoping that we can have negotiations, reopen the line of communication, and proceed in that nature where this may not be necessary, is the hope of the chair in this commission. So with that, ask for the commission if you have any questions.
I would move to untable the item.
I'll second that.
Okay, excuse me, I wasn't ready for a motion yet. Did you make a motion?
To untable
Okay,
so
can
we
I-
could talk about it.
Yes, I guess, is there any other questions for Mr. DeGroot? Public input on this matter.
Good morning, Scott Montgomery, Fairview, South Dakota.
Good morning.
You all know how I feel on this, and I haven't changed my feelings. But I guess one thing I want to point out is exactly what the law says. Nothing in this section may be construed as authorizing the county commissioners to condemn property for a county courthouse or jail site, which this is doing. You can sidestep that all you want and say, well, the courthouse isn't being built on here, but you wouldn't need this road if it wasn't for the courthouse. Or jail site until a majority of the voters of the county have voted in favor of erection of the courthouse or jail. That has not happened. I think you're violating the law. And, you know, it's kind of David fighting Goliath here. You guys have unlimited amounts of money to fight us. We have a very limited amount, but I hope this thing ends up in court, and I hope you lose. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public input?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Chair and committee. Linda Montgomery from Fairview, South Dakota. I just want to, last week I heard a couple of things when we were discussing this. And one was that, that 4 people on the commission can and do have the power to okay building of a $54 million structure. And apparently at the same time, the decision was made to acquire this property. You know, I've been looking through things and I've been contemplating this. Yes, you can, but the question is, should you go to something this big without the vote of the people? The other thing was that this is our legacy. And I have to go, whose legacy is it? And it's your legacy. Not necessarily the people of Lincoln County, because we didn't have any input as far as voting on this project. Voting on the 54 million, voting on the location, or voting on taking of private property. So we not only as citizens of this county with that legacy will have a albatross hanging around our necks for a very long time for something that we didn't vote on. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public input? Okay. Commissioner Landine, would you like to make your motion now, please?
I would, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move to remove that item from the table.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Untable it, I should say.
Thank you.
Second the motion.
A second? Okay, motion by Landine, seconded by Poppins. Any discussion? If
Mr.
not,
Chairman,
yes.
myself and Commissioner Schmidt are going to be meeting with the McKinneys here after today's meeting. We need to negotiate in good faith. We need to negotiate on good terms. I don't want to poke a stick in the face of the people that we're going to be sitting down and having discussions with. I don't want to inflame passions any more than what they are. So as a result of that, I'm going to be voting against that. The bid packages aren't due until February 15th or 16th or somewhere around there. So we have plenty of time between the 6th today and the 15th or 16th. So we got plenty of time to get this figured out. It's not an emergency. It's not a necessity right now today. And I want to be able to sit down with the people we're negotiating with in good faith today, as opposed to taking any further action. And we can always schedule an emergency meeting if we need to discuss it further. So for those reasons, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to be voting no.
Any other discussion amongst this commission?
I'm going to just comment that I'm the commission member that's sitting on these meetings with our construction and our contractor and our architect, and they do believe that this is important to get done so that they can put those bid packages together completely and make sure that it goes out for bid to save the county money, possibly millions of dollars. Right now is the bidding season. We want to get those bids early They will be much more expensive the longer we wait. It will further delay this process. And so on their behalf, I am asking the board to pass this. We are not making any eminent domain decision today. This is purely for the purpose of getting this bid package out so that it is complete. Things can always be eliminated later, so I am asking this commission to approve this resolution of necessity. And if anyone has any questions about that, I welcome any of you to start coming to the hours and hours of meetings that I have been attending with the user groups and with the court and with the construction and architect, manager and the architect. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion amongst the commission?
Drew, you don't have to come up again, but we've had lots of comments, and I respect both commissioners. But as I understand it, Drew, from our chair, that you reiterated that any action that would further look at any condemnation or anything isn't necessarily part of this. That would have to come again in front of the commission, and they would have to vote on that as a separate one.
That's correct.
Yeah. I mean, it is an action today that it's going to initial. And I know we may have a difference of opinion on that. And I will be joining Commissioner Aaron's, and I too don't want to have anything that would allow or would preclude a good dialogue, saying we're sincere, we want to make sure that we can get something worked out here where we can all walk away from the table with some agreement. And to me, that's where we are. And in respect to the idea of a bid package, the longer we wait, that is true. I contacted a couple of contractors, and it is primary season because now they're starting to fill up. And the number of bids that are going out are earlier this year than they have been in the past. So to say that we should wait, that necessarily may not be the best because we never know how these bid packages are going to come in. We don't know if they're going to be more expensive than what we have budgeted for. So the sooner we get some actual numbers to evaluate, we may end up cutting a lot of stuff out of there because of cost overruns. So I just think it's time to put that out for there. And in that case, I will be voting for it.
Any other discussion amongst the commission? If not, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aaron's.
No.
Commissioner Landine.
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon.
Yes. Motion carried. Next item,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
the motion was simply to take it off the table. We would
Correct.
actually have to take action now with it off the table.
Okay. So what would be your motion, please?
I would move to approve the resolution of necessity.
I will second that motion as well.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further public input? If not, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aaron's.
No.
Commissioner Landine.
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon.
Yes. Motion carried. Next item, Mr. Rasmussen, Board consideration of proposed traffic impact study for the Lincoln County Justice Center.
So as part of the,
Morning.
morning, Steve Rasmussen, your Commission Administrative Officer. This is the traffic impact study that will study traffic flow for the Lincoln County Justice Center. And this would be a requirement before we would apply for any access permits. So we looked at a couple different vendors. This one, highly qualified. In fact, they're currently, this last year, did a traffic impact study for the Law Enforcement Center in Vermillion, so they have some experience there as well as working with the SDDOT. And they came in at the lowest bid,
Okay, thank you.
and it was $8,100.
What was the last comment?
$8,100.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Rasmussen?
Steve, where is this study going to be conducted? Is it both Highway 18 and on West Avenue?
Correct. It'll study all the proposed entrances and looking at the traffic flow for both Northwest Street as well as for Highway 18.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And who is the firm doing it again?
HDR.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions by this commission for Steve? If not, is there any public input?
Scott Montgomery, Fairview. It's funny how we had opinions against the item before this because it was threatening the McKinneys, but isn't this threatening the McKinneys? I read what's in the paperwork on this, and it's talking about turning lanes. That involves the church, which I was assured by Mr. Poppins earlier that they would not touch the church ground. Maybe the county isn't gonna take that ground, but the state sure will if it comes to that. So he can wash his hands with that. You know, the engineer, I clearly stated that West Road would provide adequate entrance and exit out of this new proposed building, courthouse, justice center, whatever you wanna call it today. So, I don't know why there's 5 of you decided that that's not adequate, that we need to take Mr. McKinney's land and Mrs. McKinney's land. All of a sudden, the engineer doesn't know how to get traffic in and out of this place? Well, what else doesn't he know about this project? I mean, we don't trust him for getting the traffic in and out of there, but we trust him with building this thing? I don't quite understand your reasoning here. I want to talk about, you know, your position of honor up here. You know, you're all elevated above us. Well, along with that becomes responsibility, being honorable. And I don't see that on this case at all. You know, there's a difference between right and wrong. And what you're doing here is wrong. This man nobody went and talked to him. You guys drive by his house every week, coming here. Have any of you stopped and talked to him? I know you have, because you were forced to. But have any of you stopped by his house and visited with him and tried to tell him why we need this land? No. So, you know, there's legal and illegal. And I think this is illegal. I think it's wrong. I just can't understand why you people were elected by the people of this county, but you won't lower yourselves to come and talk to the people of this county. You put that on these legal people and all your little minions, you know? If you're supposed to represent the county, the people that voted you in, shouldn't you talk to them? Shouldn't you listen to them? How many people have come to you and said they want you to take this land? Any? How many people have come to you and asked not to take the land? I would think percentage-wise, it's a whole lot more. And I would think if you'd take this piece of paper that talks about this law and present it up here to the school and ask these kids what they read in this, it'd be pretty plain and clear. Except there'd be a minority of them that would say, you know what, it doesn't matter what the law says. The county's gonna do whatever they wanna do anyway. They hire law enforcement to force you to follow the law, but they won't apply those same laws to themselves. I wish you people would just wake up a little bit and see that the people of the county don't want this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public input? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the proposed traffic impact study for the Justice Center.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Landine, a second by Poppins. Any discussion amongst the commission?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
normally I wouldn't have a problem with a traffic study, but because the state of the land is still in flux, we're in with negotiations. And just to stay consistent with this process, I'm going to vote against it. Like I said, normally, traffic study, no big deal, not a problem normally, especially if you own the land or had rights to the land. But in this instance, you know, I'll be a no vote, and I felt it necessary to explain. Also, just to address Mr. Montgomery's comments, just to let him know, I have talked with the McKinney's counsel, Mr. Swanson, and my view has been, since they're represented by counsel in what's been stated as potential litigation, it's only been right and respectful and probably pursuant to the rules of professional conduct that I can't talk to them directly, but I do look forward to talking to them today at the invitation of their counsel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if, just for the record, if you recall last week, when we were set to vote on this, that
yours truly looked at Mr. McKinney, and we tabled that so we could have that conversation today. I think that should say something to somebody, that we're not headstrong, running amok, looking at, just blindly moving forward. This is serious business. So, with all sincerity and earnest, Mr. Aaron's and I are going to go talk to the McKinneys today and try to come up with a situation which is amenable to both parties. Now, in reference to the traffic study, we really do need to evaluate both of those things so we have some kind of reference on what the expense is going to be and how much traffic is on the west side, how much traffic is coming off of 18. You know, none of this is all etched in stone because we may have many options. We may have to look at utility easements. We may have to look at a lot of things. So you just can't paint with a broad brush that we don't care or we're not responding. You know, you want to count the number of miles that this guy has driven? How many times I have visited the penitentiary site? How many times I have been talking to all these people? So when you make these, Scott, you make these references, you better have more information than your personal opinion. I'll share with you the number. And you know how much we get? We don't do that because we want to, or because we do it because we get paid. That's not it. We do it out of commitment. So when you start making allocations that we're not listening to people, and I remind you, there are almost 70,000 people up there, and there's a lot of people in Sioux Falls that talk to me all the time, and they may not have the same interests that you have. So I take homage to this idea that we're not responsible to our citizens. I think we are. And I think all the due diligence that we're doing right here this morning, we may not agree on, but at least we're going to move forward and get something on paper so that we're able to evaluate not only the money that it costs, but what would be the best options in the long run. That's my comment, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. All right,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
I would just like to concur with what Commissioner Schmidt just said. In referring to county employees as our minions, that's just disrespectful, and I would expect more from somebody speaking in public comment in an open meeting. It's not correct, it's not right, you should not feel good about it. If you want your words to carry weight, I'm going to tell you you are severely misinformed, and you might want to check your facts before you get up here and you spout off about things you don't even know about. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
They are
ready?
represented by counsel, sir. We are prohibited.
I've closed public comment.
Thank you,
I've closed public
Commissioner.
comment.
Thank you.
We are ready to vote. We have a motion and a second, correct, on the table?
All the questions.
All right, go ahead, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aaron's.
No.
Commissioner Landine.
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon.
Yes. Thank you. Motion carried. Next item, board action in regard to a purchase of a pickup. And I believe this is Mr. Myers from the airport. Dave?
Good morning, Dave Myers from the airport. Recently, probably in the last 10 years, there's been a vehicle there, older vehicle that we've used and so forth to just do general maintenance. Last year, the previous manager there was taking it to get some fuel, and then they had to pull off the Worthing exit because it started on fire. So there's no truck there, and currently I'm borrowing the one from the courthouse here to do snow removal and things like that. So many uses for a truck out there, from checking the runway for FOD, replacing the airport lights, just general maintenance, and basically right now it's snow removal. And also during the summer, there's moving limbs and other things like that. So I'm kind of asking if the board would approve a vehicle for the airport.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes.
Forgive me if it's in my share file, I don't see it. Do we have numbers for what that would be then?
The base truck is $49,500 it's on a state bid from Lamb Motors out in Oneida.
And is that a vehicle available now, or is there quite a waiting time for that?
It's 4 to 5 months.
4 to 5 months. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay. Dave,
Okay.
Dave, are you putting a existing plow on that then, or are you gonna have to purchase a new one for that?
Eventually, we'd put a plow on it. So I'd
Okay.
have to approach the commission again to ask for approval for that.
Okay, will the one that you currently have transfer to that one, or do you need one with
I think that
this?
will have to stay here with the courthouse.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Myers?
Hold on, just so I understand this correctly. So there's one plow or two plows?
There's just one plow at the airport now, but I'm borrowing that plow from the courthouse here. It's a courthouse truck.
Okay, so there never was a plow attached to the truck at the
It was
airport?
very sketchy, to be
Okay.
honest with you.
Okay.
Any other questions by this commission for Mr. Myers?
If I can add that real quick.
Steve?
Currently, it is already budgeted for 2024 in the amount of 45,000. So the ask is just for the additional equipment to be able to make it safe. There's an additional, like I said, the costs were a little higher than was originally budgeted. So the difference is really what we're looking for.
Okay, does everybody understand that on the commission?
And what is the,
All right, any public input on this matter?
yes.
If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
There is, or I could.
Motion by Landine,
Yeah, I didn't think.
Second.
second by Schmidt. Any other further discussion by this commission? Okay, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Commissioner Landine,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon.
Yes. Next, that also involves you, Mr. Myers. Again, an independent fee estimate to be conducted by Mead and Hunt. What is the reason, and so on?
So we just completed the north ramp, probably about 4 or 5 months ago, and our proposal is to complete the south ramp and to just make sure the numbers are correct with Helms and Associates. We'll have to hire Mead and Hunt to go over the numbers to make sure everything is in line and so forth like that. Once that is, if this is approved, then we'll get that money back from the grant at the end, so.
Any questions for Mr. Myers?
Dave, could you just explain kind of in layman's terms what an independent fee estimate does?
The independent fee estimate will go over from the initial cost of the engineering cost all the way through to the end of the paving cost. So it'll be the amount of materials needed, the equipment that's going to be used, all the fill that has to be coming and so forth like that. That's kind of what they do. They just make sure the numbers are correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes. Any other
Dave,
question?
if I overstep in things that you're going to talk about, I apologize. It's a procedural matter that, because we were actually awarded additional funding, we're actually able to do this south ramp sooner than what probably was anticipated, which is a great thing. It will not be done this year. I would anticipate that the actual ramp will get done the following year by the time everything gets bid. Am I correct on that, Dave?
I think it might, I
Will they
think
be, are they going to try to get it done this year?
we're going to try to get it done this year.
Try.
So that's our goal, so.
Objective, but as we all know and how the process goes, it may get delayed. But either way, it's a good scenario. We'll be able to do that south ramp and keep it in close proximity to the completion of the north ramp, which as the airport grows, having that is a kind of a one-piece area will be beneficial, I believe, in the future. But the good news, we did receive additional funding above and beyond, which had allowed us to expedite this process. So that's a good day.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, just a question, Mr. Chair, maybe a clarification so the public understands, and maybe Commissioner Poppins can explain. The entire cost of this study is reimbursable under the grant, correct?
That's correct.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any public input on this matter? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I would so move to authorize.
I'll second.
A motion by Poppins, second by Landine. Any other further discussion? If not, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Commissioner Landine,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon.
Yes. Motion carried. Next, Like three in a row here, Dave. You're
in a row, yes.
We have approve a resolution to terminate airport business planning services for Marvin Ski Airport in regard to Aeroplex Group Partners LLC and authorize the airport manager to search other vendors for the same scope of work. Go ahead.
So probably 4 or 5 months ago, me and Mr. Rasmussen interviewed some potential people to kind of do a study of our airport to see what was best for airport as we move forward with hangars and lease agreements and renting and so forth like that. We did a very thorough, I thought we did a very thorough interview with the people that applied, and we hired Aeroplex. And as time progressed, and we kind of had a timeline with them, and they weren't kind of meeting our expectations. And we sent out an email to them, and they came back with some information that we just didn't think was appropriate for the airport. And as that proceeded, we think it was in our best interest of the airport not to continue with Aeroplex and just continue with maybe finding a better firm to do that. So that's what we're kind of asking, just to terminate Aeroplex and just seek other additional business that would do a job that would better suit our needs.
So it isn't something that urgently needs to be done now. We can search for another.
We can search for
We have
another.
time.
We do have time, yes.
Any questions for Dave? Public input on the matter? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I would so move to authorize.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Poppins and a second by Landine. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, this, as Dave indicated, is unfortunate, but it's better to realize when someone's not able to get the job done, to move forward and find someone else. So, thank you.
Thank you. With that being said, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Commissioner Landine,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon.
Yes. Thank you, Dave. Moving on to item number 7, Mr. Meter, action to rebid a property at the Lincoln County 4-H grounds.
Good morning again. I'll preface the next three items by just telling the commissioners that these are three pre-existing leases that we're just asking for permission to rebid. A couple of them do have some minor modifications that the department heads have asked for the commissioners to consider. So I will start with item number 7, I believe, first, which is the property at the 4-H grounds. And attached to this agenda item, you'll see the previous 3-year agreement that we had. Ms. Sweeter from the 4-H grounds is asking for this board to consider only doing a 1-year lease agreement for the mowing and haying of this property. My understanding is that there's some decent changes occurring out at the 4-H grounds, and she isn't quite sure of the ground that they're going to be able to allow to be mowed and hayed. I'll say that I understand the mowing and haying to be able to occur several times during the year, so I don't know if we could just stay in contact with whoever bids and tell them before an event happens that they would have to come out and mow. I'm not too familiar with that mowing and haying process, to be frank, in my previous experience, so I'll allow the commissioners to discuss that amongst themselves, but that is Ms. Sweeter's request, and otherwise, I am here for any questions regarding item 7.
Any questions for Mr. Meter?
Just one, is the lease rate, you're just gonna rebid the price, it was $100.02 an acre?
Yeah,
Okay.
we plan on offering the same 12 acres, I guess, within the lease agreement.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Meter, I would like us to add a termination clause that's very clear that at any point in time during those 3 years, we can terminate it because of changes that may be going on out there that unforeseen at the current time. It simply would allow us not to have to rebid during this 3-year period, but give us an out clause to terminate at no cost anywhere after each individual year.
So we're approving 1-year term, correct? Are you saying you want to approve a 3-year?
I'm okay with approving a 3 years as long as we have a termination clause that allows us to terminate it at the end of any one of the years as an option.
Any other questions? Public input on the matter, then. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we offer the 4-H grounds of approximately 12 acres for a 3-year contract with a termination clause that at the end of the year '24, the year end of '25, at no cost to the county, we can terminate the contract.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion amongst the commission? All right, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Commissioner Landine,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon.
Yes. Okay, item number 8. Really, 8 and 9 are the same, but we'll take them individually.
Thank you. This is the same request for 3 years of 50 acres to mow and bale brome and volunteer grass out at the airport. Once again, the only thing I'll remind the commission is that there is a lot of future development out at the airport, so that's something to consider when making the bids themselves, but I'll allow you to discuss that amongst yourselves.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
My thoughts there as well, can do a 3-year contract, but have a termination clause to hold county harmless at the end of any of the '24 or '25 season.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other,
Public.
public input on the matter? Excuse me. None? Okay, no other discussion amongst the commission. Kristen, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Commissioner Landine,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon.
Yes. All right. And the last matter.
Thank you. Finally, I'll refer to this as the 38.48 acres that are behind the highway shop. Our previous agreement was actually only for 1 year for this property, and this is actually for cash rent specifically. So my one modification I would recommend to the board is for you to consider doing multiple years of extension, since I don't believe there's much for development happening out behind the highway department. But once again, I'll allow you to discuss that amongst yourselves.
Any questions?
I have a question for the
Yes.
board to discuss. We have identified some building eligibilities at one time that we briefly discussed about liquidating for the benefit of the taxpayers to get it back on the roll. And then is there any discussion as to, not necessarily in the first year, but again, what are we planning on doing with the remainder of those acres out there? The sooner we get it back on the tax roll, private investment groups, the better. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Is there public input on the matter? All right, I guess,
One question. Commissioner Poppins, are you stating that we should put the same caveat of a non-binding that we can exit this property or this agreement with rental for the,
My
As
thought
you-
would be
as you did.
either we stick with the 1-year contract that we have been for the last few years on that, or again, do a multi-year, but only with a termination clause that allows us to be held harmless at the end of any of the fiscal years.
okay. Thank you. Any other input?
has the
here?
same renter had, how long has the same renter had this? Have they had it for a while? Or is this
I've-
brand new?
I thought they had, but I might be mistaken.
I've been here for 3 years. It's been the same individual for my 3 years, so
Okay.
I don't know much about the prior history before that, though.
Okay. All right.
Well, with that being said, I guess I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd offer a motion of a 3-year contract again with the clause that the county would be held harmless at with their ability to terminate at any of the end of the '24 or '25 season.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other further discussion? We had public input, I believe, so call the roll, Kristen.
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Commissioner Landine,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon.
Yes. Thank you. Next, again, Tracy, again, temporary, it looks like board action to approve a temporary hiring of someone in the VA
Yes.
department.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tracy Humphrey, HR Director. Bring before you a resolution to approve the hire of Susan Irons as a temporary Veteran Service Officer. On February 5th, a new VSO took place of Susan, who had been part of our county for 9 years and full-time in that role for 4. So to help ease the transition and ensure the transfer of institutional knowledge, as well as help assist our veterans, Susan has made herself available in a 5-hour-a-week capacity and recommended for temporary capacity for up to 2 months. Since Susan is continuing her work in veterans, it'll be helpful for our new VSO, and she'll be a great resource for that. So with the salary changes, even by adding Susan as a 5-hour-a-week employee, there will be no increased cost to the county, and we'll see a savings there as well.
Any questions for Tracy?
Tracy, has this person already started?
Yes, the new VSO started yesterday.
Okay. And since that person started, has there appeared to be a need for him to have conversations with Ms. Irons?
Yes, so we already had a couple of discussions yesterday during our new hire orientation of just the transfer of some of the specific processes that happen within the county, but also just that that passover from the relationship that the veterans have had with Susan. It is somewhat of like almost like a social worker role where she's built those relationships, so to be able to help those transfer over.
So I'm just not following how we can have 2 VSOs because she was a department head, so how is that set out?
Yeah, certainly. So by having her as a temporary employee, the title is just as a assistant veteran service officer would be maybe a more applicable title that I should can amend with this. But she would just be there as sort of assisting in that she meets the criteria by the state as a VSO, so there's no problem. And we checked with the state to ensure that this would be a approved item with them, and they were very enthusiastic by that. So maybe for internal purposes, I should have added assistant rather than kept the title as it was.
So was this a request specifically from the new VSO?
It was discussed in the transition with the commissioner liaison and the current VSO, and also discussed, it was a question that was asked by the new VSO as we were hiring them. But no, it was not a specific request from them.
I mean, aren't there a plethora of resources available to this person? And we hired them, obviously they are qualified, or we wouldn't have hired them. So I'm just not sure that it makes sense for us to spend that additional money and have 2 bosses in one office, because I think that's what it would look like. And then how is that person monitored with the time that they put in, et cetera? And what is the definition of temporary?
Certainly. So I'll answer the last question and go back if that's all right. First, our handbook allows for us to hire temporary employees that are designated for a specific amount of time and a specific task. So by naming that this person's there for the transition of for passing on specific knowledge to this individual and helping them get started, we can restrict how many hours they're working. So 5 hours a week at 2 months would mean that by April 5th, her employment would end, and it only would be authorized for those 5 hours.
What happens if it goes over?
There would be the VSO, David Eckley, who's our new VSO, would be the one approving and overseeing that time card. So if there was any ever issues, he would be the one that would be in charge of ensuring that doesn't go over.
Any other further questions by this commission?
And I apologize, Commissioner Landine, I know you asked other questions and I started at the back and went forward, so I can answer if you want to, if there's anything.
I would.
I'm so sorry, I was just going to say if you could restate the other questions so I could answer them.
Well, I'm just wondering, this says temporary VS officer, so there would be 2 VSOs in the same office.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how you want me to answer. I did say that we could always modify the title to be assistant. We internally view that position as a department head. The state requirements just have to have that veteran service officer title in it. If we want to clarify that it's an assistant one, that would be probably appropriate for for our internal processing.
And then does the state pay any portion of that?
I know that they do pay a certain portion for our full-time positions. I don't know that, I know it's nominal, but I don't know that dollar amount on the top of my head.
I don't think that they do.
Okay, I was told, but I apologize.
you.
I can find out.
Any further questions by this commission?
So we're talking 2 months or 8 weeks, right?
Correct.
For 5 hours a week.
Yes.
So that's 40 additional hours.
Yes, sir.
And 40 additional hours at $34 an hour is about $1,400.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
my thoughts are with Commissioner Landine. Could be confusion of who actually is still in charge in the office, so changing the title, although is minor, I think so that everyone knows the transition is happening, and we move forward with that. And I definitely would want to see this carry on more than 2 months. And I do appreciate the transition time, but if it's found that it's no longer needed, I hope Dave is able to say, we no longer need this and can move on even earlier than the 2 months. So, thank you.
Commissioner Aaron's, do you have any input on this matter?
I don't have any questions, Mr. Chairman. I have some comments, and I'll make them after there's a motion on the table.
Okay. Public input on this matter? Okay, I guess then I'll ask for a motion.
Move to approve.
A motion by Aaron's, do I have a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, we have a second by Schmidt. Go ahead, I guess, if there's some questions by the commission or comments.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'll make some comments. I want to thank Susan Irons for her 9 years of work that she's done here at the county. She has provided excellent service to the men and women who have served in the military who live here in Lincoln County. And that's what we need to remember. Sometimes dollars and cents, in this instance $1,400, gets in the way of understanding that ultimately what we're serving here is veterans. Some who have paid dearly, costly sums for their country. Some haven't. But all of them served. And in some way, they're disabled now and they need services. And sometimes it does cost money to provide services. And I understand there may not be people who want to provide money to pay for help disabled veterans. I get that part. But in this instance here, we have a 9-year veteran of the county who is going to help transition our new hire into establishing all of those relationships and networking and services that she has so ably provided for Lincoln County veterans. And it's called the transition period. I fully support it. I think it'll go a long way towards helping Mr. Eckley provide the exceptional level of service that Susan has provided for our veterans. And just throwing him into the pool and expecting him to swim on day one isn't what we need for our veterans. We need our veterans to have the highest level of service. And sometimes that means you got to spend an extra $1,400 to make that happen. So in this instance, 4 of the commissioners had the opportunity to interview Mr. Eckley. All good interviews, great candidates. I think Lincoln County is going to be well-served into the future by Mr. Eckley. And I think it'll only be better because Susan will be able to pass on all of her knowledge over the course of 2 months to Mr. Eckley, and then we can take the training wheels off and get him going. So I look forward to this transition. I look forward to this process, and I think it's worthy of being supported. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I have a question. Wasn't he a VSO officer already in his prior employment? I wasn't part of the interview, so that's a question that I have.
He was.
And he's got How much experience?
Mr. Eckley, the reason for spending the extra $1,400 on our veterans is to enable Susan to be able to pass on her network of relationships and experiences to Mr. Eckley. It's not because he needs more training as a VSO.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any others?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I don't know that there's anybody on this board that isn't supportive of spending the money that's necessary. It's just verifying that there's the correct leadership in there. And forgive me, you're, I believe, the liaison to Mr. Eckley. I don't know that he actually asked for it. I do believe it's a good transition. I think it's money still well spent. But it is for all practical purposes, it is a one person department. So when he's comfortable with, if it is before the 2 months, I would like him to make that decision to move forward without having to have assistance. I am supportive absolutely of Ms. Irons staying on for up to 2 months. Just a refresher, Ms. Irons absolutely deserves all the respect from all of the commission, as well as the residents of Lincoln County and the state and federally now. She's done a great job. There's no doubt about it. Started as a part-time and developed a non-existent department into the best department probably in the Midwest, if not the nation. Highly respected. There's no doubt on that either. And if it does be a benefit, I can support it. But again, Dave is the department head, and if he chooses to say that he's ready to do without the additional assistance, I would like that to be his discretion. So, thank you.
Thank you. No other questions or comments? Then I guess, go ahead, Kristen, call the roll. We have a motion and a second currently.
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Commissioner Landine,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes,
Commissioner Gibbon.
Yes. Motion carried.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I do think that we do owe Susan a lot, because I was sitting here thinking the number of times that she has honored our Vietnam veterans. We have a Purple Heart communities now, and I think our county is as well. So we've got lots of things that have been brought to the fore. And I think that your Commissioner Poppins, I just want to reiterate, I think you're very right. When David's ready, he doesn't need assistance, that'll be taken care of.
And I think didn't we color the courthouse green
Yeah,
in
we
regard
yeah.
to something
We did.
last fall or so on?
Yes.
So, anyway, okay, I'll move on to the next item, item number 11. I guess our auditor, Sherry. this
Good
is
morning,
you.
Sherry Lund, Lincoln County Auditor.
Good
My
morning.
first item is to reschedule the county commission meetings scheduled for June 4th and November 5th to June 6th and November 7th, to set the rescheduled days as the county canvas, also with the respective elections.
Okay, repeat those dates again, just to make sure.
So it's the June 4th and November 5th Tuesday meeting, move them to June 6th and November 7th, and also set them as the days for the county canvas for the primary and general election.
Thank you. Any questions for Sherry?
So basically, Sherry, we're going to move the Tuesdays to the Thursday after.
Correct, and we normally do it, we normally get up to the first week of June and then we move it, so I just thought, well, we'll be proactive. Concept.
Thank you. Any other questions by this commission? Public input on the matter?
Linda Montgomery from Fairview, South Dakota. As long as these two dates are being changed, I was wondering if you would consider, the public has talked about, it would be nice to have a commission meeting in the evening. And since we're making a change, I'd like you to consider that one or both of those be held in the evening, just to see if it makes a difference for the community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment on the matter? Okay, I guess then I'll entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second, Landine.
I have a motion and a second by Schmidt and Landine. Any further discussion? Okay, Kristen, call a roll.
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Commissioner Landine,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon.
Yes.
All right, so my second action isn't going to need a motion, but it's just going to be a whole lot of information. You'll notice that I did a bunch of attachments onto the agenda item. The 2024 election calendar, the offices to be filled, the 2024 candidate calendar, how to vote a primary in South Dakota, the 2023 administrative rules, the degree of kinship, election training agenda, and post-election audit guide, which is new this year for the 2024 elections. I also want to make note that within the last couple years, the Secretary of State has set up the voter information portal. This is a very useful tool for voters to go on and look at their information to make sure that they are registered in the correct district with the correct party affiliation, because I know that in previous years, people have changed their voter registration through through driver's licensing or whatever else. Sometimes there's errors, sometimes their party gets changed, so several things happen. So if a voter was to go in here and verify their information, you would see where you're registered or maybe not.
Thank you. Any questions for,
I'm not done.
oh, I'm sorry.
Don't give her the choice.
What'd you say?
Nothing, Madam Auditor.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So apparently I'm doing something wrong on here, but this is the portal that you would go into to verify your information, to make sure, and once we get the, well, I don't know why I'm doing it wrong in here, but anyway, you'd go on here and verify your voter registration, your address, your party affiliation. Once we get the ballots done, you would be able to look at your sample ballot so that when you go into the polling locations, you know what's on your ballot to be voted. Very useful tool. Again, I missed something on, because I wasn't born in 40. Whew, I made myself old. I don't mean that in any,
Speak for
I don't mean that in any way, Jim.
Your zip, 57077, okay.
Okay, so there, you'll see, there's my address, my party affiliation, the county, my legislative district, my commission district. This is all the information saying where you are. You also get acknowledgement cards when any of this information changes. And I recommend that to go out here and look before 15 days prior to the election and make sure your information is correct, especially if you've done anything as registered through driver's license or anything else. It's always a good idea to make sure you are registered how you want to be registered. And since I've taken office, I have hired temporary in-office workers to assist with the election process. This year, I budgeted to hire 2 people for that position. I plan on posting them at the end of February, and they'll run until filled. The positions will start the week prior to absentee voting starting, and will work until Friday after the election with $15 an hour. I have budgeted for 30 hours a week. So I'm just going to go ahead, unless there's any objection from the board, go ahead and direct Tracy to go ahead and get those positions ready to be published. Then there's one new thing that we've got post-election audits, which are new to 2024. This will take place in the commission chambers and should be done sometime during the weeks of June 17th and November 18th. My plan is to have 9 boards of 3 people working on the election, and then again, to see what we specifically have to do. Instead of me going through everything, I would look at the guide and see what we have to do. The official times and dates will be announced during the county canvass. Because of this is the first one, we do not know how long it will take, but we plan to start at 9 a.m. My initial thought would be to have, 6 to 9 tables with 3 workers registered to vote in Lincoln County and that are not of the same political party. And then they would have to, of course, be with the degree of kinship. On February 28th and 29th, the auditor's office across the state and the Secretary of State and ES&S are going to be holding election training, and it's open to the public. So I invite any legislators, any public that is listening to this, if they'd like to come in and see the beginning to end processing of elections to be in Pierre, February 28th and 29th. Any questions?
Sherry, can you just, do we normally do those temporary workers on consent? Or do you typically just do it, don't you?
I typically just do it, but I was informed that I had to basically get a blessing to hire a budgeted position. So that's what I'm asking. Well, I'm not asking, I'm just, if you have a problem, then I'll put it on the next agenda to not hire them or to discuss it, but at this point, I'm just moving forward with it.
I think at a minimum, it would just, I mean, if it needs to be on the agenda, I think it could just go on consent. Does anyone mind
Once
it?
we do the hire, it would.
Okay, gotcha.
I just was under the understanding that I had to discuss the position even being, moving forward with it. So this is my idea of a discussion.
Okay,
Thank you.
you have my blessing.
Any other questions for the auditor? Okay. Public input? All right, I guess at this time, I'll call, do we have a motion and a second yet?
It was just discussion, we didn't need one, I don't believe.
Okay, we have a motion by
Second.
Landine, a second by Schmidt.
I don't think we needed, we're on 12, right? So,
It's just informational.
yeah, there's no motion needed.
Information.
Okay, all right, thank you.
13.
Thanks for correcting me. All right, then, moving on to item number 13. Again, Drew, this is you in regard to improvement to parcels 200-5058-003 to the city of Canton pursuant to hold harmless agreement. Can you explain that, please?
Yes, good morning once again, Drew DeGroat from the State's Attorney's Office. This is an indemnification and hold harmless agreement with the City of Canton. If you recall, the former 4-H grounds had county buildings located and improvements on the former 4-H grounds. During the demolition project, we were approached by the City of Canton in a cost savings approach that they'd like to not have us demolish one of the buildings, and they'd like to use it for storage. Again, this was a cost savings to the county. This agreement has them assume all liabilities moving forward. So to ask for your approval on behalf of, I guess, the city of Canton, since they approached the county.
Any questions for Mr. DeGroot? Not? Public input on this matter?
Mr. Chair, move for approval.
Second.
Okay, motion by Schmidt, seconded by Aaron's to approve. Any other further discussion? Call the roll, Kristen.
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Commissioner Landine,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon.
Yes, thank you. Motion carried. Next, Mr. Brown. Toby, board action to set a date and a time for the annual work session with the P and Z Commission.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Toby Brown, representing County Planning. Bring before you this item this morning is to set the annual work session with the Planning Commission, essentially a joint meeting between the two of you. And we want to schedule that for Tuesday, February 20th at 5:00 PM. So it's on Tuesday this month because of the holiday on Monday. So again, just the clarification will be Tuesday, February 20th. We'll start that at 5:00 PM. And then the regular Planning Commission meeting will start at 6:30. So really, we have 3 agenda items for that evening for you and the Planning Commission. The first would be just the annual update or annual report of the Planning and Zoning Department. So I'll just give you a little brief kind of synopsis of that, is that 2023, in terms of construction value, that'll go down as number 1 in the history of Lincoln County. And I'll get into more details kind of at that meeting, but again, 2023 was a great year in Lincoln County for building and development. The second item is staff's been working with the consultant with the comprehensive plan and the draft future land use map. And so, a lot of the comprehensive plan has a lot of words in it, but the future land use map, that's really the guide that staff and you as the board use when you're looking at changes in future land uses. And so we've drafted a document, and we want to have a dialogue between you and the Planning Commission that evening to really take a look at it. But that'll be a work session forum, so it'll be a chance for you as the Board of Commissioners and the Planning Commission to really have a conversation about if that's kind of the direction that you would like to see it go. Third item on the agenda will be the goals and policies. So if you've heard me say this before, I'll say it again, is that currently we have 14 goals within the comprehensive plan. My belief is that if you can't recite them, they're probably not good goals. So we're really looking at kind of streamlining that, making it simple. At that meeting, again, you'll have a dialogue conversation with the Planning Commission about what those goals and policies would be moving forward. So it's really just I view it probably the most important meeting this year of the Planning Commission of yourselves, because it's really a chance for you to take a look at what that future plan is going to look like visually, goals and policy-wise. Because again, as I've said this before too, is that this is a 20-year document. There isn't any of these that we all get to work on together. So it is an important part of what it is moving forward with the county. And so also with that, we did close the survey on the website. And so you'll be able to look at some of those results on there as well. So a lot of the documents that I just talked about, those are really based on kind of ground up what we heard from the surveys from the citizens. The next phase that we also see, and we'll hopefully get that live next week, is that we're going to do something that we've never done before in Lincoln County, and that's we're going to do a story map. So we're actually going to take the draft future land use map, put it on the website, let people comment, make, stick pins in it, kind of say, these are some future things that they would like to see. Those comments won't be visible, they'll be behind the scenes, but we're hoping that the citizens will utilize that opportunity for, really the first time ever to kind of have their direct input on what they would like to see the future as far as the map is looking at it. So excited. I think we're at a good stage with where we're at with that kind of stuff. And again, more than excited for what happened last year. And again, our role in that process is really just to facilitate to work alongside it. That's all private investment, and I'll say that's all taxable investment too. The number that we're going to present to you is all taxable valuations, okay? So with that, real simple, just need you guys to set February 20th at 5 o'clock for the joint annual work session, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for Toby by this commission?
Thank you.
Public input? Okay, I guess I'll entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
A second.
Motion by Aaron's, a second by Landine. Any further discussion? Okay, Kristen, call the roll.
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Commissioner Landine,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon.
Yes. Next, opportunity for public comment on items that are not on the agenda.
As far as I know, I'm not on the agenda. I don't think I've spoke anything but the truth here. And if the truth hurts, so be it. You people knew, well, I can't go there because that was on the agenda. But let's say we're building a building out here, and everybody on the committee, everybody on the board knows that we're gonna go after some land that we haven't talked to the guy about. And none of them go talk to him. And they send their minions, I know you don't like that word, but that's what you did. None of you had the guts to go talk to these people.
Scott, we've already talked about this issue.
We're not talking about that issue, we're talking about this county building we're building. Remember, we can't talk about that. So,
Okay, what is your comment about the county building, please?
yeah, we're talking about this building we're gonna build out here. We can't talk about McKinney, so I'm not gonna talk about McKinney's. I'm talking about in the future, when we go out and build this building, and we all know that we're gonna go after this guy's land. Everybody knows but him. Is that proper? Might be legal, but is it proper? Is that what you were elected to do, to give it to your minions? I know that bothers you, Tiffany, but that's too bad. Wouldn't you feel it's your responsibility as an elected official to go talk to those people? Isn't that what you were elected to do? Go share your information? I don't care if you like me or not, I don't care. There's nothing I've spoke here but the truth, and if the truth hurts, so be it. I think people in this county need to be treated with some respect, especially from you people. The people that you're gonna build this county building on in the future need to be respected. They need to be talked to. I was also told by Mr. Poppins that the church would not be bothered. It's gonna be bothered. What do you mean? What's that supposed to mean?
Not by the county.
Oh, no, it's the state, right? Go ahead, I mean,
Yes,
it
Mr.
just,
Poppins? Yeah.
Is this concerning the building directly?
Yes, it
I will
is.
gladly visit with you.
yeah, we've already visited, and I know how that turned out.
If you would like to, I would gladly do that.
You can visit all you want, but I've already seen you're not a man of your word, so.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I ask you to end this.
Okay, thank you.
That's
For
not a point for personal.
Sorry for speaking the truth again.
any other public comment in regard to items not on the agenda?
Yeah, Don Hoffman, 47327, 273rd Street of Harrisburg. Last week before, I got my tax assessment notice and stuff. Back in 2022, I built a new house on the farm. I sold my existing house to my daughter and a husband in June or July of 2022. That was at 331. The address was there. Before we even moved in, we had to sign off the right of occupancy and stuff at 327. Assessors were out, looked at the building, or at the house before we even moved in. Fine, okay. 2023, about halfway through the year, I got a letter from the assessor's office and it was addressed to 331. Now, I hadn't lived at 331 since December of 2022, because my daughter and husband bought that property. But the assessor's office sent it to that address, questioning me, do I have other property? Do I own property at 429-47349? And which is going to be your personal residential property? I looked at that. I don't own property at 49. That's the soccer fields. That was sold 7 years ago. But it listed me as my address. Oh, this isn't right. So I come down there, go to the assessor's office. And in the meantime, we had got another notice that the assessor was going to show up again. They were going to come and assess the property. Okay? So they were out there. I stopped at the assessor's office. I says, this isn't the right address. I live at 47327. Well, this statement was sent to 331. Well, I hadn't been there for a year now. It's been over a year since I've lived there. Okay, went over that. I said, give me a piece of paper. I'll draw it out, show you where I live, where the house is. She said, she pulled up the map. She said, where'd you build your house at, Don? I said, right here. And I said, this is 47327, not 49. I said, that's the soccer fields. There's nothing out there. Okay, we'll get this corrected. You got to have this corrected for your new assessment, okay? I got my new assessment statement. And it says location, 47349. Now, this is the fourth time that I've been trying to get this corrected. And the assessment increased my assessment by 160-some thousand. I thought, you know what? I don't live at 49. I don't own the property at 49. There's a shed out there that's 16 by 16, which is a storage shed, which if they're going to assess that $161,000, they're going to have problems with somebody. But I guess I can't complain about it because I don't live there. 4 times. Accountability and respect. Now, who am I supposed to hold accountable and who am I supposed to respect here? Everybody goes by the location, your street address and that if they want to find you. I give truckers from Kansas and Missouri that address, and they come in the middle of the night and whip right in the driveway and have no problem. Legal descriptions. People buy and sell property off of these numbers. I guess I'm an AI person, artificial intelligence. I don't exist because they don't have my right address. Sherry just got up here and talked about voter registration. Pardon my language, but how in the hell am I supposed to register, or what am I supposed to register under? 47327 or 47349? But I don't live at 49, so I'm the liar. I'm the bad guy then. If I get caught, the banker says he wants to come out and look at my house. And they go through the filings and say, well, it's at 449. He comes out, there's no house there. He comes back at me, Don, what are you trying to pull here? There's no property there.
Don,
Please, somebody.
Did you talk to Carlo about this? I mean, in
I
person
talked to
or
one of the
in
workers.
the assessor's office or not?
4 times they've had that right address, and they still haven't gotten it right.
No.
So I'm
I
leaving a
think
paper
it-
trail. Hopefully this gets
Yeah.
documented.
Don?
And then I'll come back
Yes.
and I'll.
I talked directly to Carla up
No,
there.
I'm tired, 4 times. I've wasted my time 4 times. Now let somebody else waste their time on an issue that shouldn't be a problem.
Who's the commissioner liaison for,
That'd be me. I
Yep.
will take it.
okay.
Go to it, because I'm gonna come back, I'm not paying my taxes, I'm gonna appeal my assessment, and when I appeal my assessment, because I don't own the property, then we can start this process, whether it takes lawyers or what, to get this thing straightened out.
Yeah.
And I cannot have respect for some
Okay,
company or somebody.
Don, I have a question. Hang
That-
on. When you transferred the property and with the soccer thing,
Yes,
okay, did that get recorded correctly with the Register of Deeds? And the reason I ask that, Don, I've had the very same situation, and I still haven't quite got it corrected yet. Because I can't explain it, I don't think it's incompetent, I don't think it's willful, but I would go to the Register of Deeds and see where that soccer field is registered and where you are registered, your land.
I've been registered at 331 since I
know that,
sold the
Don,
soccer field,
Don,
so,
but just try the Register of Deeds once.
no, I'm not. Like I said, 4 times, I've wasted my time 4 times. Now, somebody needs to be held accountable and responsible for their numbers. If they're doing this job, they need to be held responsible. If you can't get it right 4 times, if they were working for me, they'd be fired.
All
Let's
right.
put it that way.
thank
That's
you.
it.
All right, Don.
Any other public comment?
Linda Montgomery from Fairview, South Dakota. I apparently brought this up at the wrong time. I'd like to talk about, and over the 3 years that I've been involved, I believe that more people than I have asked for an evening meeting because so many people can't come to a day meeting. And I just ask that we put this maybe on an agenda item so that we can talk about, does it work for you and does it work for the community? Because there are people who do want to come, but they work full-time. I happen to be retired. That would like to be part of the community input. And if there are times when we can maybe have, an evening meeting at a different time, I would think it would benefit Lincoln County. The other thing is that I want to bring up, if you go out to Pier at February 23rd, there is a hand count demo that has been proven and tested. Minnesota just used it. It works very well, and it's very quick, and it can be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public input? If not, do we have executive session today, Steve?
I'd like to make a comment.
Okay,
Mr. Chair.
go ahead.
From the, last week, you want to beam that up? I sent to Linda Hagedorn, was the wife of Otto Hagedorn. I sent this bouquet on behalf of the commissioners and the staff for Linda's contribution, but also to honor her and Otto's service as a commissioner, I think, for 3 terms, which was quite nice. So if any of you commissioners want to contribute, the pocket is open.
All right, thank you.
The other comment I would like to make is that while there's been a great deal of comment on the part of the county association, this is what we counties belong to, South Dakota County Association. And at an executive board meeting, we had the Summit Carbon Pipeline come in and explain to that board their program. There are members of that board that do not have the pipeline going through their counties, so this was information for them. Well, somehow, this has been misconstrued now, is that the county association is writing legislation for Summit. No, that meeting we had, we thanked them for their information and they left. There was nothing else. It was information just to clarify, and anybody had questions as to what it was. And I want to make that public comment because so many times things get misconstrued. We live in an age of conspiracies, that the weekend of the game and the weekend is rigged already. I mean, you got all these crazy stuff out there. And I just want to make another comment. You know, Scott, not that we dislike you. You bring up what you want, and you can say anything you want. We may not like it, I may not like it, I may disagree with you, but that's not the point. The point is, we do respond. If you want to look at the number of emails that I send out, the number of evenings that we sit around answering everybody that responds to us, you know, we don't do that. I mean, it's all there. So when you say we don't listen to the people, that's not true. We do. I think, I can't get the number of times I've driven out to farm places, and that's not in my district. I could say, well, I live in Sioux Falls and I don't have to do anything. I think when you're a commissioner, you are representing from Hudson to Sioux Falls to every spot, because that's what we vote on. So we do respond, and I think we do care. Linda, your suggestion about an evening meeting, I'm not totally opposed to that. We've talked about that for years and years. And there's reasons why we can and reasons why it is difficult. So it isn't that we haven't explored those situations. So that's my comment.
Any other commissioners' reports?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
last week we had, unfortunately, 3 soldiers killed in Iraq. My thoughts and prayers go out to their family. But in addition to those soldiers who were killed, there were 20 wounded. And those 20 who were wounded will need services when they come back here to the United States. They're going to need excellent coverage from the VA. They're going to need the help of local veteran service officers. They're going to need the help of their community and their family. Also, unfortunately, last week or this weekend, there was a deputy killed up in Moody County. And my thoughts and prayers are with his family as well. And just want to say publicly, we're thinking of him and his family. We're thinking of the other law enforcement officers. We're thinking of all of those who serve instead of getting bogged down in these petty politics here. I think it's better that we reach out to these people. Thank them for their service. We do live in a dangerous world, and unfortunately, there's dangerous people who exist among us, even here in South Dakota. So I want to thank those people who are serving, who have given that ultimate sacrifice for not only for us locally, but for the nation as well. Thank you.
Any other commission reports? All right, with that being said, I guess we have executive session, Steve?
We do.
Under which item, 1, 2, or 3?
All 3.
All 3. All right, do I need to read all 3?
I would move to go into exec if you're ready for a motion. Under all 3, SDCL 125-2, sub 1, sub 3, and sub 4.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Landine, second by Aaron's. Any discussion? Okay, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aaron's.
Yes.
Commissioner Landine.
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon.
Yes. Motion to carry. Motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Landine, second by Schmidt. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aaron's.
Yes.
Commissioner Landine.
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon.
Yes. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Aaron, second by Landine. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aaron's.
Yes.
Commissioner Landine.
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon.
Yes, we are adjourned.